following podcast contains spoilers, adult language, and the infamous Rick Grimes. Covered in blood. Again.
What?
This is a message from the Office of Emergency Preparedness. Due to the recent crisis, we ask that you remain in your homes. Do not attempt to communicate or interact with the creatures, even if they are people you know.
Lock your doors. Bar your windows. The dead are coming. It's time for Aim for the Head, an all Walking Dead universe podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Diana and Steve.
Hi, and welcome back to Aim for the Head podcast. I'm Diana.
And I'm Steve.
And this is podcast episode number 310. And Rick Grimes back, baby. So this week we'll be discussing the series premiere of The Ones Who Live, obviously affectionately termed in the fan community as the Rick and Michonne Show. Da-da-da-da-da-da. And the title of this first episode is Years, which is a fair assessment because, I mean, from the beginning to the end of the episode, they really sort of went on a journey for the story, you know?
I know it felt to me like it took years. No, I'm just... And I just like to say, I just like to say, it would be pretty cool to get on one of them shows.
Yeah.
Just going all the way back, people. That's an old cut. Exactly. Look it up.
All right, so before we get into the nuts and bolts of the episode, let's talk real quick on quick thoughts on the episode itself. And Steve, you went first last week when we talked about Dune, which, by the way, folks, if you are excited for Dune Part 2 coming out, just go back one episode. We had a really nice, long discussion on Dune Part 1 from 2021.
I'm pretty sure that our discussion of Dune Part 1 is actually only a few minutes longer than Dune Part 2 is. So
yes. So if you're looking for some long entertainment talking about sci-fi, that is really your jam. You should go there.
There you go. It was pretty cool.
We had a lot of fun talking about it, twice. So Steve went first last week and the week before, but that didn't take. So I'll go first this time around. And I would say overall, I am in the I liked it category. I think we were talking before we started recording, and we are both in the sort of cautious area, especially considering this is the first of a series, much like Maggie and Negan and the Daryl Dixon Show, World Beyond when it started, Fear when it started. It's the first of a series, so there's a cautiousness to it. They have to get a lot done in this episode, and boy, did they have to get a lot done. They're not kidding when they called it years. Like, they had a lot of years to cover to sort of bring people up to speed. There were definitely some things that were not great, and some, as Steve called them, red flag areas. I'm a little more optimistic, even though I can see the red flags. But so I would say, instead of 2 thumbs, I would call it a thumb and a half. I'm a thumb and a half for this one. It's really good. I loved seeing these people again. That is really a lot of what drove my feelings for the episode. And I feel like that's going to be that case for a lot of people. But there was some good stuff there. And we'll get into those details in a bit. But overall, Steve, how about you?
I'm again, it was great to see the actors back. It was great to see the characters, and I think the fact that Andy Lincoln is such a great actor that he can take really bad material and make it palatable. I think I'm hoping that was not the case here. And I think I'm definitely cautiously optimistic, but there was definitely some red flags for me that went off in this episode where literally I'm watching going, uh-oh. And and I think, the biggest one I don't know if I didn't put it specifically in my bullet points, but it's Scott Gimple. I mean, he's the showrunner on this show. And again, everyone remembers when The Walking Dead started out, and the first 5 or 6 years it like kept getting better and better and better, and you're like, oh my god, this show, it was like the number one rated show on TV. And then Scott Gimple became the showrunner, and they did the Savior War with Negan, and the show like kind of became bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a polite way to put it, right? And part of it was just because it'd been on for so long and it'd been so great. You knew it couldn't sustain that, but his writing and leadership didn't help. So anyway.
Oh, no, go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that when he does the little featurette at the end talking about the show, I went, because he's like, I'm the showrunner, Scott M. Gimple, and I went, oh yeah, I'm having flashbacks, and so I guess I told you before we started, I was very disappointed that Angela Kang's name was nowhere to be seen in the credits, and I think as good as the show became at the end, from where it was when the Savior War ended, all of that is Angela Kang. I mean, Scott Gimple really stepped into the background and was just, an executive producer, and was not running the show, coming up with the storyline. So, you know what I mean? So I think it would have been, whatever this show is going to be, I think if Angela Kang had been involved, it probably would have been, in my eyes anyway, better than whatever it's going to be with Scott Gimple. But like I said, it's only one episode. And as you said, they had a lot of mail to haul in this episode to get us going and figure out what's been going on here for 5 years that Rick Grimes has been gone, And so there's a lot of that going on, and that it's a lot of here's what's going on, and there's only so many ways you can do that without it getting a little tedious. I mean, it's a lot. So let's see what happens. Like you and I kind of already discussed, Episode 2 is pretty much going to be Episode 1, but the Michonne version. So really, we're not going to get into the story until Episode 3, in terms of like present day stuff. I mean, next week it's going to be all Michonne and doing all of her stuff. And at the very end, she's going to shoot down the helicopter, right? Isn't that what we pretty much agree is going to happen? I would
assume so. Yeah.
Like
I mean, the same track.
Yeah. So anyway, so like I said, let's give it a little time to breathe. Let's see what happened. Remember, Fear the Walking Dead was basically unwatchable because all of these executive producer people were busy working on this show. I mean, that's really what it is. And they basically told the knuckleheads, just do your show. We don't care. Whatever you want to do is great. We love it. You know what I mean? We're not really paying attention to you. Greg Nicotero's doing Creepshow, and the rest of us are working on the Rick and Michonne show. I mean, so hopefully it's going to be great. But let's just see what happens. So that's kind of cautiously optimistic, and I would say like I have like a half a thumb at this point.
Yeah, definitely. You're optimistic, but you're much more cautious in your optimism than I am. Is really like how I would put it. It's
because fear hurt me, okay? And I will point out on the doll exactly where fear touched me.
Fear hurt you?
Yes.
Please don't. All right, so moving on. Before we get into our individual points on the episode, let's first discuss the episode itself, the description of what we were in for this episode here. And Steve, that's your department, so go ahead and take it away.
All right, well, this week's episode is being brought to you by...
Ready to do your part in rebuilding the world? Ready to show everyone how committed you are to the CRM? Then why not join in the CRM's Hands Across America? Not to confuse with that other thing from way back in 1986. And for everyone under 40, that was real. You can look it up. No, I'm talking about the CRM's new program, Hands Across America, where our plan is to literally put a line of hands across the country. That's right, we'll be starting in Portland and then running east to our sister city in Omaha. Well, technically there isn't an Omaha anymore, not that we had anything to do with that, but then we'll be continuing eastward to our CRM city of over 200,000 people that is hidden in Philadelphia somehow. So sign up today, and soon everyone around you will be eager to give you a hand. Too soon?
Ooh, I want to sign up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a lot of hand holding and a lot of hand touching. And if it's one thing that COVID taught me is I don't know where everybody's hands have been, So I'm a little more cautious about this than I am about the episode.
But just think about it while you're waiting, you're getting ready to put your hand across America. You could spend the time by reading some, literary classics like Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms.
Oh my God.
Or, Margaret Atwell's A Handmaid's Tale.
Margaret Atwood. But
or
nice
you could be listening to some great classic rock and roll music like the Beatles song, I Want to Hold Your Hand. See, there's so many things you could be doing.
That's true. Yeah, I could listen to those and not touch other people's hands. That's a great idea. All right, so let's get into talking about the episode itself. Before we have to do
the description too. That would help.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I forgot about that part.
Yeah, I know. Because that you're thinking about the Hands Across America. That's what it is.
Not in the way you think I
am. All right, so the episode description we have is as follows, and again, this is The Ones Who Live, episode 1.1, and title is Years, and the description we have is, in another world, built on a war against the dead, Rick Grimes and Michonne attempt to find each other and who they were. And that is your episode description. And I don't know what show it's talking about, but it wasn't this one, so there you go.
Yeah. In another world, built on a war against the dead, that's the world they live in. It's not another world. It's the world they live in. That's a bizarre description.
It's a very and I mean, Michonne, other than like dreamlike Michonne and weird samurai rocket launching Michonne, she's not in it very much.
No. Yeah. But I think they didn't want to give that away. This is a teaser description that was put out. This is a description that was put out before the episode was, you know what I mean? So they didn't want to give anything away. They didn't want to show their hand at all. So, and they didn't show their hand or show the fact that we lose a hand in the show. So that was good of them. They kept it.
But let's give them a hand.
Yeah. Shall we? Okay. All right, so before we devolve further into more hand jokes, let's talk writers and director of the episode before we get into the points. So let's, you got those listed there. Let's chat about them.
I do. Well, this, if you notice, the credits had a kind of an interesting display for the writing portion, in that we got two separate writing credits. We had number one was the teleplay. And that was by the showrunner, Scott Gimple. And then we had the story right below it. And that was, again, Scott Gimple, and then as well as Denai and Andrew. So both Denai and Andy kind of worked with him to come up with the general story. And then he took all that and went off and wrote the actual screenplay that we saw being performed. So I'd like to hope that a lot of the two actors are in the final cut, and it's not just his vision, but it's all of their vision. It would be really interesting to hear them talk about the writing process and, how it all worked and how happy they are with it, because, I've seen Scott Gimple write before, and I know Denai is really good at writing. I'm not so sure about Andy Lincoln, but I wouldn't surprise me if he was really good at writing as well. And so hopefully their input is, at least equal to Scott Gimple's. But again, we don't really know. I'd like to find out. And then our director, it's kind of weird if you look at the credits, because the director, it says Bert and Bertie. And you're like, And so doing a little bit of research, Bert and Bertie are actually two British women. Bert is a gal named Amber Templemore Finlayson. So we're kind of back to the multiple name people again. And I guess if you look at her name Amber, and then her first of her two last names begins with a T, so you get Bert. And then Birdie is this woman named Katie Elwood, and she, I guess they have worked together in the past as a team, and they have, whatever reason, their little nicknames are Bert and Birdie. And so I did not see a lot of American TV credits for either of them. The only thing that it listed was this team is directing the first two episodes of this show. So they're doing 1.1 years, which we're talking about now. And then next week is 1.2. And the title of that episode is Gone. And again, we've seen this before in a lot of the shows. When they start, when it's a new show and it starts, they will typically have the same director do the first couple of episodes. So you kind of get a very consistent tone and style for the beginning of the show. And then once you finish with that, then they'll rotate in other directors because the show's off and running. So not unusual at all. So anyway, that is your writers and your directors.
Excellent. So our cold open is with this sort of two sequences. First is this is where Rick is and who he is overview, sort of catching you up in case you're watching this episode and you've never watched an episode of Walking Dead. They wanted to remind you who he is. I don't know why. So they did that, like all the way up to the bridge explosion. And they go through all of that. Then they also do a little bit of like a cold open, sort of starting where he was. And I gotta say, it's a filming style I enjoy, where the place they're going to end, like almost end the episode, is a scene in the beginning. So they show the scene in the beginning where he's just sort of like, he's getting close to giving up hope and all of that. And he's
going to kill himself.
Yeah. He's looking out the window. He's watching the wind turbines. And he's got this piece of glass, which we find out later when we see the actual scene happen, that it happens when Thorne comes in and breaks the glass. So he's got that piece of glass there, and he puts it against his neck, and right off the bat. And I put down, I was like, people have been waiting 6 years to see Rick again, and the first thing that he does that's a new scene, his very first new scene that everybody sees, is him trying to kill himself. So I'm sure the people that are like rabid Rick people, like super, like, because there are some super fans out there, and I'm sure they went a little bit crazy when they saw that. So, and I mean, and there's so many moments sprinkled throughout the episode where Rick is having those moments of like, and you can see him when he's got that piece of glass, he's contemplating the piece of glass. He's thinking about what he could do with it. He looks at his, decides to try and bring it close to his neck, thinks twice, yada, yada. And there's a couple of different moments where he basically is like, seems like he's ready to die. And then, he either changes his mind, or, whoever's with him is like, no, I'm not going to do it, yada, yada. So they so much so that they put a disclaimer at the beginning of the episode that there's a lot of sort of triggering suicidal thoughts and suicidal ideation in the episode, which was, good on them. It's literally the very first scene of the whole show. I just thought that was interesting, because when you think about Rick, you always sort of picture him as this, and he's definitely had his human moments, but he's always been like this larger than life strength. You know what I mean? So I thought that it was interesting that the scene they decided to start the entire series with was this one where he's really sort of like almost giving up hope. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. So so that happened. We do sort of jump from there to the next scene that the both of us sort of wrote about was if you think Rick trying to cut his neck was a shocking scene to start the series off, how about the second scene being him out doing some scavenging? We don't really know the particulars yet. We just know he's with he's with the CRM people, and he's on like a strange kind of tether. And it's funny because he's on a little leash. The first time I watched it, it didn't dawn on me that everybody else didn't have one. I was so focused on Rick, and I knew he was in a group of people. I didn't notice that he was the only one that had it until later when they're like, yeah, he can stay, but we'll have to tether him or whatever. And I was like, oh, was he the only one? And then I watched it again. I went, oh, he was the only one tethered. But I have thoughts on that scene. Some stuff I liked, some that I had questions, but I'm curious, like with the cutting of the hand, which, I like your thoughts there. Yes, is it too soon to give him a hand? Well, his clapping won't sound like that anymore. It'd be more like, slapping your stump, I guess.
Just think about it. He can only pat himself on the back from one side now. I'm just saying.
Aw, that's so sad. Yeah. I'm curious why he had a hatchet with him. Why didn't he try to cut the tether? Is my question. Yeah. Like, wouldn't that? I understand that they showed it, and it's like a really kind of thick, like aircraft cable. But I mean, a couple of hacks at that, and he might have been able to do it. I don't know. It felt very extreme, the whole cut your hand off thing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it is. I suppose it's possible that, I mean, he talks about, having multiple escape attempts throughout this episode. So maybe that's something he tried to do already and has determined that the guy will be on him and tase him before he can chop it off, and cut through it. So this time he's like, the only chance I got is to cut my hand off. That's it. That's the only way to get out of the tether in time to get away from that guy, that's on the other end of the tether. I don't know that thought. I thought about that too for a little bit, but we don't really, they didn't really give us a lot of detail as to, what kind of cable was that. And, you know what I mean? It just could be a case where he just knows that he's not going to be able to cut it with that little hatchet.
Yeah. I had that thought the second time through. I saw that it was kind of a thicker cable, but I'm still like, and you're right. Like, maybe we haven't seen one of his, escape attempts, and maybe he was given like a thinner cable, and he did cut it and was able to get away, but they've caught him or whatever. So now they gave him like this really thick steel cable, and he's not going to be able to go anywhere. And, I don't know, but it was interesting. It's definitely something we've never seen before, is, someone on a leash that's alive, not like Michonne's pets there.
No. You're right in that, when you first see them, all of them walking towards the camera there, you see that he's got the tether, because they cut in and they show the cable being pulled out of that wheel on the guy's belt and so on. And at first I was like, is everybody tethered like that? I'm like, that's weird. And then the second time through, I was like, oh yeah, right, because Rick's the only one that's tethered, and he even says at one point that, he's like, most people, when the CRM finds them, assuming they're not A's, and they're not killed, they want to stay. They want to help out. They want to do their part to get inside the city and become a citizen. And so he was kind of the anomaly in that, nobody ever was like, yeah, screw you guys, I'm going, and which they won't let you do. And so he kind of got extreme measures to the point where they're like, he's going to go out and he's going to work, for his supper like everyone else, but we have to make sure he doesn't run away. So that explained that for me. I'm like, oh, right. So then it was.
How do you feel about him catching up to his comic book destiny?
It was cool. It was fun. I remember and it might have been in the last episode he was in, or one of the very few episodes, the very last ones, he cut his hand and was, there was a lot of the comic book fans watching at the time, like, ooh, is he gonna lose his hand? Is he gonna lose it? And sort of wondering were the two plot lines from comic and TV gonna converge again, and then he didn't, obviously, and so it was kind of nice to kind of see that part of the comic Rick Grimes come back into the show. So I liked it. I was okay with it. I think we've seen in this universe that people with only one limb are usually get the awesome weapon arm. They get the cool accessories and stuff like for the action figure that the regular people don't get. So it was kind of like, oh yeah. And then when he gets I know it's a point later on, but when he gets the prosthetic and it's got the switchblade and all that, you're just like, ooh, that's cool.
It's fancy.
Yeah. So
it's funny. One of the better tweets that I saw, I think it was last night, like while it was running, someone did like a collage, and they're like, welcome to the One Arm Club, Rick Grimes.
That's right.
And it shows Lydia, the kid from World Beyond, I can't remember his name, the kind of dorky one.
We called him Frodo, but
yes, Frodo. Alicia, obviously, Aaron, and of course Merle.
And Merle was the first.
Yeah. And he doesn't get the thing right away. We get that in a later scene, but I made a note and I said, "Aw, Rick has the Merle hand now." I wonder if he had that thought, like as soon as like the switchblade came out, is he like, great, now I look like Merle.
Now I'm Merle Dixon. Damn it. Yeah.
Damn it.
And by the way, that kid's the character on World Beyond was Elton.
I can't remember. I was gonna say something else that was kind of like a dorky name. So Elton, yes, Elton was missing the hand there.
And it's just funny that when we were talking about all those people, my mind jumped back to when we met Ross. And we told him that it was right after I think he had just gotten the arm. The fake arm, or like his arm got trapped in the logs or whatever. And we said, so how does it feel to be a member of or I can't remember. It was either he got it or the kid got it. And we're like, how does it feel to have more than one member in the One Arm Club? And he got like, why? Who has one?
Yeah, we had to say, well, you know what it was? It was the Elton thing had already happened, but then the Alicia thing was there. And was
that it?
Yeah. And talk about admitting that he didn't watch the show, which I mean, come on, Ross, we don't blame you. No. But we're like have you seen anything, the latest member of the One Hand Club? He's like, oh, no, what? And we told him Alicia. He's like, really? He's like, and he's so cute. No. He's like, oh man, he's like, I'm so behind. I haven't caught up on the show. I'm like, Ross, you don't watch it. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, right. We only watch it because we have to.
We have to. Right. Yeah. We're obliged. He is not. Yeah. Poor guy.
But anyway, my mind jumped to that moment when you went through all of them. I'm like, I remember we talked to Ross about that, and he was like, no way. So yeah, that was cool.
Absolutely. And the other thing from that scene that I really liked, and you made a point about it too, man, that burning ghoul, so awesome. It was like the whole inside of the body was an ember. It was so cool. Very, very cool. And definitely a new way for us to see, ghouls that have caught on fire, because we've seen they've shown that many, many, many times in lots of different circumstances, but not like this. It's almost like they'd been burning for a while, I said, like they were an ember, and it's just, that was so good. The way the eyes, the whole skull was glowing, that was amazing. It was really, really well done.
Yeah, and just how you could tell that when he cuts his hand off, and then he's like trying to run away, and of course you can tell that he's like, this really hurts,
Yeah.
and blood is coming. He's got the belt tied around his arm as kind of like a tourniquet, but it's really not working. And my first thought is like, you should have planned this out better, shouldn't you? It's just like, you're gonna run about 20 more feet and then you're gonna pass out from blood loss.
Yes.
And literally he kind of hides behind the tree for a minute and tries to catch his breath, and then when he gets up, the ghoul runs right into him, and they kind of roll around on the ground. And then when he looks up, there is like its chest cavity, and it's like a campfire, right? Like you said,
Yeah.
it's glowing orange. And as soon as I saw it, I'm like, well, that's your answer, And sure enough, he didn't hesitate. He's like, I'm just gonna stick this in there, And
Yeah. What I really need is something I can cauterize the wound with. Oh, look.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
This burning ember is right here. How
yeah.
convenient. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very exciting. It was a slap bang beginning, where you're like like you said, you kind of get the very, very quick Cliff Notes version of Rick blowing up on the bridge, getting in the helicopter, going to the CRM, and you'll hear about the army and all this stuff and everything, and then it throws you right into this scene, and like you said, you don't know what they're doing, why they're there, who they all are. Mm-hmm. It's just, there's Rick, and oh yeah, he has his arm on a leash, and they're killing ghouls, and then Rick's like, you know what I'm gonna do right now? I'm gonna cut my hand off, and you're just like, what is going on? So yeah, it was very jarring and exciting, and kind of almost a tease, because after that kind of actiony beginning, it settles into very talky.
Yes, lots of the talky.
Lots and lots of talky.
Lots of talky. Speaking of which, there's I guess you would call it's his sort of dream state. Mm-hmm. We see this scene perpetuate, I think, like 2 or 3 times within the episode. It's just basically like a subconscious fantasy of Rick's that is like, what if I just met Michonne on a park bench somewhere? Mm-hmm. And it certainly seems like we're not within the apocalypse. This is like the before times or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. I'm not sure if it was interesting I liked it, or interesting I don't know. But there was a lot of talking that really it didn't move the plot forward in any way. It didn't shed any light on these characters, not really. And the first time they did it, I was a little confused, because I was like, well, where is he, and why does Denai have the braids? She looks so like opposite from Michonne. I was like, she looks like, and that's probably what it is, she looks like her lawyer days, Mm-hmm. And I'm sure at some point she told him, I walk around now and I wear like a vest and boots and I'm covered in blood all the time, but I used to look real sharp when I'd go in and go to work every day. And she probably described it to him one time, and he's got like some deep memory of like an image in his head of what she must have looked like back then, and he's just sort of transposed it into this current dream state. But it was, I'm on the fence about it, because elements of it were interesting, mostly because there had been so much jarring Rick stuff so far. He tried to kill himself, he cut his hand off, there's he's not going through a good time. And this was like the absolute opposite. This was like happy-go-lucky fun times. Mm-hmm. And it was, and I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I'm curious if we'll ever see it again, or if it was just something that he, is gonna reveal. It's just something that we'll see in this episode. So, what did you think of that as a sort of storytelling device, as it were?
I appreciated it. I like that they came back to it. It wasn't just a one-off.
Yeah, that's true.
He kind of had that dream several times, and it was sort of like every time we saw her, it was a little further along, where like because you see him the first time and he's looking for his office where he's supposed to go to work, and she's sitting there like eating lunch, and then the next time he's sitting there with pizza and she comes walking up, and I think like what I took out of it was it's sort of like his desire, his subconscious, his love for her, and that's kind of being, he's being forced to give that up if he's going to survive in the CRM. Because Thorne tells him at one point, that the person that she loves is in South Africa, in Cape Town or wherever, and by her not trying to escape, that she knows that person is okay, and that if she tries to get away, he or she could be in danger or something. And I think as this episode goes along, Rick is kind of slowly kind of coming around to that way of thinking. And that, particularly when he finds out that Okafor knows about Michonne and Judith, and all of that, so that even if he did get away, like they could come and look for him and, maybe kill all those people or whatever. So he kind of gets to that point of like, the only way that I can keep you safe is by not trying to get back to you. And that's my way. And so that dream, and if you remember, like the last time you get the dream, it turns into like Michonne bursts into flames and you kind of see the glowing Ember Ghoul again. Right. At the very end of it, and then he wakes up. Right. And I think that's when Omaha falls or something happens, but he gets woken up. And but so that's kind of what my take on it was. Is it's just sort of like him, like his life with Michonne that could have been, and that any life with Michonne is now kind of like a dream to him. It's not. There's no chance it's ever going to happen again. It's just, she's going to only live in his memories, kind of a thing. And again, it was cool. I liked it. It's just, when you pile that on top of all the other talking that went on in this episode, it got to be a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
And, if this was in the before time, I just kept thinking, where's Lori? Don't you think she might have a word or two with this strange woman with the pizza and stuff? You know what I mean? It's like,
that pizza
Rick,
is for me, damn it.
Yeah, it's like, Rick, you are married if this is the before time. I'm just going to throw that out there. Okay. Yeah.
Already. So we get a little bit of a, I guess you want to call it a background where he starts doing his letter writing exposition where he sort of brings us up to speed, shows like where he is, how long he's been there, how everything works. And we learn all the stuff about, consignees. They have 6 years. And then after the 6 years, you can earn your spot to go in and become a citizen. And I mean, they're in Philadelphia, right? Is the supposition.
Do you want to give it away?
Yeah, about that. I'm curious. I'm literally looking it up on a map right now because I'm like, I've only been to Philadelphia once, and I don't remember what kind of like water is like around it. Like I get that it's separated by, there's a river there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm bringing that up on the map right now. And there is a river there. So it is, if you were to wall off the city, and then if your back is the wall and your front is the water, I mean, I guess that makes sense. But the point is, they are just a hop, skip, and a jump to New York City and DC, and like, so how is this secret?
See, this is one of the red flags for me, and like I had like serious Padre Island flashbacks here.
Yeah.
That where I'm like, seriously, we're doing this again with the secret place that no one can find. And my first thought was like, okay, so the Dead City is already aired, so that already happened. So we already know that there is a fairly large community very close to Manhattan, which is not all that far from Philadelphia.
Right.
And the CRM has not just like 2 or 5, but they have like 100 black helicopters that they fly everywhere.
Right.
And they have all of these black, trucks and Hummers and all the, equipment and vehicles they use. And yet, shh, don't tell anyone where we are. It's just like, again, I'm just like, how can people not know that, they might not know exactly where you are, but it's like, gee, there's got to be people over there. Look at all those helicopters. You know what I mean? It's just like, come on.
And if you look at the map too, like we're always been, led to believe that the Commonwealth is in Ohio.
Right. And how did they not know?
Right. Because and don't get me wrong. I understand that like, you got to think about it like it's almost colonial times. Like, in terms of distance, Ohio and like even the border of Ohio, Pennsylvania is a long state. I have driven it. It takes a few hours.
Oh, yeah.
So I get that. It's a long state, and it's also difficult to travel. Like, there's one major highway that goes across the middle of it, and there's a lot of mountainous regions. It's up and down. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I can understand, like, if you block off like the roads in a certain way, you can keep yourself, but people do a lot of walking, don't they, in this time period? Look at what Michonne did. She just walked up the coast from, Alexandria. She was in Virginia and she went north and just followed like the water, I would assume, or like she would want to keep water near her so that she can, drink. But also, like you were saying about the helicopters, if they were to leave Philadelphia and go to Omaha, Nebraska, in between Nebraska and Omaha, Nebraska and Philadelphia is fucking Ohio. A lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and remember the Commonwealth, they had all kinds of vehicles and trains, and I mean, so it wasn't like they were strictly like, well, we could ride a horse for a half a day, you know what I mean? So and doesn't the Commonwealth strike you as the kind of settlement that the CRM would like wipe out?
Yeah, because that follows their math of there was a lot of A's at the
CRM.
Commonwealth.
Or the Commonwealth, I mean, just in terms of the Commonwealth, it's a threat. They have an industrialized community that can produce its own power, its own weapons, its own armor. It's like, no, they're going to wipe those guys off the map. But I mean, it's not beyond that. It's just, again, it's like, okay, so the city has 200,000 people in it, and I'm like, so what? When it gets dark, they all turn their lights off. You know what I mean? It's like how is that not visible from a distance?
They have the wind turbines. We are road trip people. We've done road trips across the heartland, and you can see the lights that are on wind turbines for sometimes like hundreds of miles if they're bright enough. So, because especially in a flat landscape like that, and I get it, like, they're not in a landscape area where things are terribly flat, but there's also like buildings have fallen down since then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this was one of the.
There's some red flags, yeah.
Yeah, where I was just like, oh no, we're doing Padre all over again. Just this kind of like, sort of like, yeah, it's an island right off the coast, but nobody can find it, and yet there are these massive boats that go to and from it every day, and people talk on the radio all the time, right? And yet nobody can find. And this is the same thing. It's like, look. I can understand them not letting anyone in, and I can understand them, having this sort of, once if they catch you nearby, they won't let you leave. But this whole idea of shh, nobody knows where it is, that's crap. It should just be, you know what, somewhere in the Philadelphia area, the CRM are, but if you go over there, they're either going to kill you or take you. So nobody goes there.
So don't go there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that would be a much better explanation.
Right.
Like, we know they're there and we have no desire to die, so we're going to just let them do what they're going to do.
Yeah, and we're going to stay over here. But yeah, so that was a huge, I was just like, oh no, when that whole thing came up. So, but I agree. I agree with your initial point, which is like, this is a secret how, and how does it, and I think what we're seeing here because they're trying to retcon a lot of this stuff is that there's already been so much world building done in this universe that now they're trying to cram this massive new community into it, and it doesn't really make sense based on what we've already seen, that they would be there, and none of the other shows really know. I mean, the only show that really knew about them at all was The World Beyond, because Omaha was part of their, was a lot allied with them, right? Mm-hmm. The Fear the Walking Dead stuff with the CRM was very, very brief and not very expansive at all. And on the main show, the Chopper showed up and took Rick, right? I mean, and the Chopper showed up at the trash people's place the one time, right? I mean, that was it. There was never any, and I think that's the hardest part. It's like, look, they're in Washington D.C., they're in Alexandria, Virginia, and yet they don't see these black helicopters flying around all over the place.
Yeah, like we said, we've seen the helicopters. Rick has seen them a couple of times, so. Mm-hmm. It's not like they don't go all over the place. Right. Look what happened with Fear, when Al ran into Isabel.
Right. Right. And remember, they had set up like a fuel depot on the top of that, extremely high unclimbable mountain in Texas.
Yeah.
So I mean, they had established like outposts like that as far away as Texas from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It's just like, so yeah.
So if they have fuel outposts where they regularly stop, or they can regularly stop, then people have to be aware that they're around,
Right.
They can't. Yeah. And I get it. Like, if you fly over somebody that's in like Oklahoma, are they going to be able to follow you to Philadelphia and know that you're there? No, but the people that are living in like the Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York area might be able to.
Right. Yeah. See, that's the thing. It's like, what about everybody in Dead City? Why do they not know, where they are? And so yeah.
Unless they do something to align that, and maybe they will. Who knows?
Yeah. Again, I mean, they can always retcon a solution around it, and you have to think that a lot of these shows, while they are all connected, they're really not. In that each person, each writer wants to tell their own story, and not have to deal with what about these people? Why wouldn't they? They're just like, no, it's just, this is my story, So So you just got to kind of accept that. And like I said, I want to see where they're gonna go. Just that point of the hidden city, really, I literally had like how like your stomach, like the pit in your stomach drops. Yeah. I had that moment where I'm like, oh no, because it just seems silly to me, and it's unnecessary. They're super powerful. They're strong enough, so what if people know where they are? What are they going to do?
And to have it happen so soon after Padre, and that was like the ultimate in silliness. So it has like tendrils that feel like they're connected to that, and and I don't want this show to be connected to Fear the Walking Dead.
No, I agree. So yeah, so that was like the worst moment for me in the show. I'm just like, no, but yeah.
Yeah. So in his sort of exposition, he goes through like, this is a day in the life of Rick Grimes. And so they show that, he's a consignee, and one of the things he has to do is, something he's really good at, which is to kill walkers. But they have this sort of, it's a little more of like, it's almost like the zombie version of working in a factory. He's working the line in a factory and all day long. And they have this whole setup where they bring them in, they draw them in. And then when they draw them in, they come up to this sort of brick wall that has these openings. And there's a consignee in each one of the openings. And, the ghoul comes up to the opening and you just get it in the head. And then the next one comes up and you get it in the head. Excuse me.
Easy there.
I got all,
you better watch it.
I got all excited.
You're going to get it in the head if you're not careful.
Clearly. And so, as he's talking and telling the story, he's getting like frustrated and, talking about something. And then you just see him go into, Rick Grimes mode, and he's just smashing, killing. You can even see in the scene, you can see that there are people starting to gather behind and
they're like cheering. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's just going at it. He's going. And when he finally finishes and is tired and needs to take a rest, and he like sort of slumps against the wall, he is covered in.
It is a Rick Grimes moment.
Ghoul like blood spatter. And when that happened, I was like, "Aw, we're back again." Rick covered in blood.
That's right. Blood and guts and bone and brain, and it was
stuff and things are all over him.
Oh yeah, it was so great. And actually, when I watched it the second time, if you want to just get a little chuckle and just rewatch that scene again. Because Okafor, this is where we meet Okafor, and he starts talking to him a little bit, and then Rick, tells him to piss off, and then just goes back to killing the ghouls, and you see that, and I want to say it's the very last ghoul he kills, but it might have been right after Okafor shows up. I can't remember, but the camera's not, it's kind of on the side, and he shoves the prod. And it clearly misses the ghoul. The ghoul is kind of like not standing in the opening. It's kind of to the side of it. So the prod kind of goes up close to its face. And he acts like he got it. And he's, twisting it and so on. And he pulls it out. And then the ghoul just kind of like falls backwards out of the shot. It's really funny where it's just like, clearly they did not assume that this was going to be seen on camera. And so the actor as the ghoul is kind of like, oh, I guess I should fall now. So anyway, I laughed. I thought, oh, that's funny. That's like a little bit of the behind the scenes stuff that they did. They're just like, yeah, just do the shot and we'll just act. Okay. And then they did it. So anyway, if you're curious, rewatch that scene because it is kind of funny to see that one ghoul. It's like, yeah, you totally missed that ghoul and it fell down anyway, but okay. Yeah.
Well, that ghoul was just doing some overacting. They're like, just fall, just do it, just fall.
I want my union card.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm there. I'm in that scene. I'm the ghoul that falls down that did not get.
That's right. I get a special credit and everything. So
unkillable.
And it's funny because the second time I also noticed that when it goes into like the slow-mo montage of him just killing, you see that like the other consignees are like kind of gathered behind him watching him do it. Like, so you get the idea that he's doing it for hours and a lot longer. Like everyone else, like their shift's over and he's still going at it, right? He's still doing it. He's still killing. And I think, that's the scene where he kind of lets out that it takes like 5 years as a consignee before you can become a citizen and get.
Yeah, it's 6 years. Yeah.
Was it 6? I thought it was 5.
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah, he said 6. Yeah.
Yeah. So that just tells you how long it takes from when you first meet the CRM and they decide they're not going to kill you to before they will even let you into their don't tell anyone where it is city. So.
Yeah. I liked that scene. I liked it shows him when he's finished with that and whatever. He has this little scene where he's at this bench where he's like sort of watching, like I was just saying, Philadelphia is across the river. Mm-hmm. So the consignees aren't allowed to live in that area. They live outside the city in, their own like apartment, dormitory areas. And he's just sitting on the bench, sort of watching the city. And this guy, Esteban, who turns out must be some kind of friend of his, we don't get a lot of backstory there, but Esteban has this really great line. They're talking about, because Okafor's big thing is trying to get Rick to join the CRM, to become a soldier.
Right.
And he doesn't want to. And also he keeps trying to get away. So it's like, I keep trying to escape. Do I seem like soldier material to you? And so Esteban hadn't seen him since, it seems like he hasn't seen him in a bit since he cut his, hand off. And he was like, I would assume with that, though, that Okafor is off your back. And he's like, really he's still on your back. But then Esteban makes a great line where he's like, listen, you should just do it. He's like, and then, you get the trust of everybody. He's like, and then sometime when you guys are out there doing whatever, scavenging for some twine and shit, he's like, you can just, get away.
Get away, right.
And when he says that, Rick starts thinking like, he's right. I've been going about this all wrong. Yeah. I should do that, and then I can gain everyone's trust, and at some point I'll figure out a way to get out of here. And then he'll have more of the tools than he needs, which you can see later when he attempts to do it. He's got access to, a weapon and the right gear and things like that. So yeah, I loved that. It was there were a couple of lines in the show, but I really, really like that, scavenging for some twine and shit. And I was like, they really are. Is that what they're reduced to? We're looking for some rope.
That's it. We just need some twine or shit.
Yeah,
either way.
That's it. We'll be back.
Yeah. It's funny because when he says that, and you're right, because Rick kind of stares off into space, and you can clearly see the hamsters running on the wheel inside, right? And my first thought was like, bet you wish you hadn't cut your hand off now, huh?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That's fun.
And then your next point and mine are sort of like I'm pretty sure they're in the same scene. He's got this moment where he's in Okafor's, I think it's his room, his apartment, wherever he lays his head at night, it appears. But my point was Okafor is getting all excited about, he's got some plants there of millet, which is a type of grain. And when he was that excited about, we don't have the right, we can't grow here, but, maybe a type and da-da-da, he was all excited about it. I was like, dude, it's like Eugene getting excited about sorghum all over again. I'm like, it's very bizarre, very, very bizarre. Not the scene I was expecting. And as a funny side note, when I first typed out my notes, my notes wouldn't allow me to use the word millet with a lowercase m, because one of my closest friends from college, their last name is Millet. And so my phone is used to typing millet with a capital M. And so they were like, no, you're talking to Eric. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm literally just typing this.
Honestly, there is other millets out there, you dumb machine.
Yes, exactly. Like Eric and Jen, my pals. So I just thought that was a funny scene. But there's also, Okafor gives a little bit of, description. He talks about the A's and the B's. I'm pretty sure that's that same. Yeah.
Yeah, we finally find out. Well, actually, I believe the A's and the B's happens when Rick is at work on the line.
Oh, okay.
I think that's when he has that, where he talks about, the difference between the two. And now, because Okafor kind of tells him that he is like his best friend because, they would have killed him. And he, Okafor argued on his behalf to get him into the army. And then he explains, that the A's and the B's, and the A's are the troublemakers. They're the charismatic, people that, will fight to the end. And again, it's almost fun. I thought it was a little odd because it seems to me that A's are the ones you would want to have on your side, because they're the devoted ones. They're the ones that believe in something. They're the ones that are going to fight for the group. And
I mean, at least some of them.
Yeah, like maybe not all, but a couple here or there. But that the CRM's operating procedure is you root those ones out and you eliminate them because they're the ones that are going to cause trouble, right? Because they're not going to buy into the program. They've got their own program, like Rick, right? What does Rick say at one point? It's not my city, it's not my people, all that stuff. Yeah. And then the bees, they're kind of the sheep. They're the ones that just go along. And that's the ones that they want to make citizens and bring in because they won't be troublemakers. And so anyway, it finally puts a bow on that question, which is 9 years old on The Walking Dead.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when you think about it, in that scene, Anne Jadis, she had initially said that she had
a bee.
And she said she had I can't remember, because she was gonna have Gabriel, but then Gabriel didn't want to go with her. And then she does find Rick, but Rick is so obviously an A, and Jadis knows that. So I hope, and Paulina McIntosh is in the credits, so she will show up. Oh, yeah. But I really want to see the scene where she says, I know you're an A, and I told them you're a B because XYZ,
Well, it was to save his life, basically. Remember, he'd been impaled on that piece of rebar, not our friend, an actual piece of rebar. And, he was dying. And plus, he was in this massive explosion. So he was, getting ready to check out. And so the only way that she could think to save him, and again, she kind of had that weird, I owe you kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. And this is before we knew, that, she's actually an officer in the CRM and all this stuff. This is when we thought she was just the weird trash person. Right. So the only thing she could do to save him because he was literally, going to check out right there, was to call in the helicopter, and they had some medical stuff on board and they could stabilize him and then get him back to the CRM because, it's not that far away in their secret place. That's really obvious. And then they could fix him. And so that's why, I always took that to why she lied about him, and that he's clearly not a B, but we don't really know what a B is or an A is, but just the way she said it. And they actually, I think in the scene previous, or whatever they did at the beginning of the episode, you actually see the scene, where he blows himself up, and then we see Jadis on the walkie-talkie going, I have a bee. And then the next scene is him in the helicopter, and he's got the little oxygen thing in his nose and, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I always took from it, that she lied. She knew he wasn't a B, that he was an A, but otherwise he would have died. So
yeah.
Kind of like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to let you die, but I'm going to totally change your life.
Yeah. But I'm curious to see what his reaction would be if he hasn't, if he's had any exposure to Jadis at all through these years, or if it's just going to be all of a sudden he sees her. Because how she is now, how we saw her on World Beyond, is very, very different than the Anne, was the one taken away on the actual helicopter. So I hope maybe we'll get some of that too, some of that flashback, some of that story, how Jadis got to be where she is too. Mm-hmm. And maybe they'll spend a whole episode doing it, just like they did with Rick and Michelle.
That'd be the third episode.
Yeah, maybe.
And then the fourth episode will be about Isabel. And then the fifth episode, then they'll start getting back to the plot to set up the season finale for episode 6. So yeah. And I was a little disappointed that, they kind of glossed over a lot of that stuff. I was hoping that, they would pick up in the helicopter heading there. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we would see the initial, arrival at the CRM, what happened to Rick, where did he go, what did he do? And, we can kind of fill it in based on what we did see here, but it would have been nice to see that. And, did Jada stick around and make sure he lived, or did she just immediately run off and, cut her hair and put on her outfit and, go run off to the other show? I mean, we don't know. You know, you don't know. Like you said, she's going to show up at some point because she's in the credits, but you know, we didn't get to see her. And I think since they only have 6 episodes here, that they're kind of crunched for time.
Oh yeah.
So they just couldn't afford, if they'd gotten a full season, if they were doing like 16 episodes or 18 episodes or something, they had a little more time. They probably would have expanded a lot more of this stuff.
Sure.
To show the journey of both of these characters, of where they went, because you already know next week with Michonne, it's going to be the same kind of thing. Very general. I went here and then I did this and then I did this and I met these people and they decided to help me. And that, what I mean? It's going to be very, very superficial, generalized. This is what happened to me over the last 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, we know what A's and B's are, so
we do. they finally set it in stone. But it did, like you said, created a little more confusion, a little more like, why are they doing it this way? Mm-hmm. So Rick, obviously, he decides to join the army, and there's a couple of different scenes that sort of show his sort of growth there, and they show him being fitted for, and that's when I said, he has the Merle hand now with his little switchblade. Yep. But then
interesting that they gave him the fist hand.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they're looking at him as more a soldier, so it's more battering ram style than it would be like they're not expecting him to be shaking anyone's hand, is basically.
Well, and what I want to know is, like, are there like options that, additional pieces he can purchase, so he has like a I'm off duty hand that he can put on that just kind of looks like a regular hand.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe it's not painted black, that's maybe painted kind of more of a color to the color of his flesh or something. We never saw it. I mean, once he got the fist hand, that was it. That's all we ever saw him wear. But although that's not true, when he was writing the letter, he's not wearing anything. He just has it bandaged in that one scene. But yeah, I again, as soon as he cut the hand off, my first thought was he gonna get a hand.
Oh yeah. Well, it fulfills one thing, which is they would have to green screen him for forever. Mm-hmm. Because if you look at like this, there's like a couple of scenes where he has the stump and he's walking around. Mm-hmm. And even though he has himself bandaged up, if you look at it, his arms are the same length, which they wouldn't be. Yeah. So they'd have to fix that and correct it over time. And, so I'm not surprised that they gave him some type of prosthetic. That just makes sense for them.
There's the one scene where he's walking back like to his house, and this is where we first meet Thorne, and she throws the glass at him.
Yeah.
And the first time. and he's wearing the like CRM jacket with the stripes. Yeah. And you can like tell that like they clearly like just pulled his hand inside the sleeve.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, your hand is right there, dude. What are you doing?
It totally reminded me of that episode where Carol is trying to run away and she has the gun inside her sleeve.
Yeah.
And her arms, and she wore like the big jacket and has like the gun in her sleeve. I was like, is he all of a sudden just gonna go and like shoot people with his like but I mean clearly no, but yeah, that was my first instinct. I was like, oh, he has a gun sleeve, and of course not. But and so once he does become the soldier, he and Thorne joins as well. We see a lot of
training montage,
very very action oriented montage. Mm-hmm. But then there's this sort of scene, this like, oh, I want to let you in on a secret kind of scene. And it's Rick and Thorne, and they're brought aside by Okafor. He gives them some books and some stuff and some manuals to go through. But he basically tells them, I'm making you, I'm sort of fast tracking you and putting you in like managerial type positions, like I'm grooming you, as it were. And he's basically saying that he thinks that there needs to be changes with the CRM, and there has to be changes from the inside out, and I want you guys to help me because you're the kind of people that would do something like that, and blah blah blah. I handpicked you, and it all felt kind of convoluted. And here's the thing: I gave it a little bit of grace the first time around. I was like, okay, great. So not only is he a soldier, but now he's going to have some sort of quote unquote secret mission, secret. Like nobody knows about it. Like we're gonna, be spying on like the people in charge, like that kind of stuff, which is, I didn't like it, but I was like, whatever. It's a storyline that gives him purpose, and it explains why they would take somebody with actual leadership abilities and allow, and even though he's tried to run away, why they would try and make him a soldier. So there was like, it kind of made sense. I didn't like it or whatever. But then considering what happens to Okafor at the end of the episode, I was like, so what happens now? Is it just Rick's mission? Is he in charge? Like, is it, I'm just curious how that plays out,
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there even a mission anymore? Because clearly it has to be a thing because, Beale asks him about it later.
Oh, yeah.
And so it has to come. They can't not talk about it again. So it's Chekhov's secret mission. They have to discuss it later at some point.
Just where the episode ends up, you wonder, is Rick going to ever be back at the CRM again?
Exactly.
Right? I mean,
yeah.
We'll get lots of CRM stuff. We'll get Beale, and we'll get Jadis and Thorne and all those folks, but Rick might be, captured or running with Michonne now. You know what I mean? Who knows where it's going to go?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you're right. As soon as they the scene rolls out, and then when you realize that they're like in Lincoln Financial Field and it's all blown up and torn to shit, and then of course you find out later on that Okafor bombed it and his wife was there. Yeah. It has a little more impact, but then he pulls out those training manuals and books, and then he kind of tells them, this is what's really going on. And of course Rick's like, well, what if we go to higher ups? And then Thorne's like, what are you talking about, we there, dude? Don't be roping me into your stuff. But yeah, but as soon as Okafor threw that speech out, I was just like, oh, you are so gonna die. I mean, I could see it right there. Like, yeah, this guy, I liked him. I liked the actor. I liked the way he delivered the lines. I thought was really interesting. And he very charismatic actor. Like when he's on the screen, you want to watch him. But just the what he was saying, I'm just like, yeah, you're not gonna make it.
Yeah,
and
it's not long for in this world. And look what happened.
Right,
it worked.
Oh yeah. I mean, not only did he get shot, he exploded.
Yeah. So I didn't love the idea of there being like I'm using air quotes, secret mission. So I didn't like that, but then I didn't like it even more when that scene where he attacks Okafor. I don't know. I just did not like that scene at all.
Why not?
I don't know why. I felt like, because here's the thing. It was more of the talky stuff. Here's a guy who is mad about a thing, and the other guy is, yes, trying to defend himself about the thing that he's mad about or whatever. But it should have been more about like, I'm gonna just beat you up. But there was way too much talking in that scene for it to be like really about what it was about. It was, I don't know. It rubbed me all the wrong way. I don't know why.
Wow,
what about you?
That's interesting. I was okay with that scene because, the setup is, Rick kind of uses, he tells Okafor before that he's in and he's gonna, play nice. And they go and they set up the base in the Catskills and do all that stuff. And then you see Rick, and he is got access to blueprints and plans, and he finds the sewer line, and then he goes and he talks to Esteban, who is the water and power guy, and asks him, where does this tunnel go? And then Esteban was great because he's like, I can't tell you. I can't say something like it runs here, and I can't tell you that the code to open the door at the end is 0436 or what. You know what I mean? I thought that was really fun that he's like, fuck you, I can't help you, but oh, by the way, I'm gonna help you. You know. But he does that, and he plans this elaborate escape, right? Where he's got he finds a ghoul, he cuts its hand off, he puts his dog tags on it, and he's gonna blow up this tanker truck, so it's gonna be this charred wreck, you know, and they're gonna think that's him, and then he's gonna get away, and then of course circumstances intervene, and he finds the little kid, the survivor there, and it's at that moment that Thorn shows up and basically tells him, look, I just saved your life by not letting you go because Okafor knows about you. He knows about Michonne. He knows about Judith. He knows about Alexandria, all that stuff. And if you run, they will go there and kill everybody, basically, is what she tells him. That's what pisses off Rick. So
right.
then he goes to see Okafor and basically is, you know, going to do him harm. And and then you're right. It does get a little talky because then Okafor, starts talking about, we need you. You know, you already have power and you're the one that's going to make a difference at the CRM and turn it into something better and all that kind of highfalutin stuff where you're like, really? This is what you're going to talk about when the guy is literally punching you in the face over and over and over again? But he does. And then Rick leaves that meeting, and he is so distraught about now he can't try to escape because they'll wipe everybody out. Right. And then that coupled with Omaha getting destroyed, and that's kind of like the last straw for Rick. And that's when he decides he's gonna, slice his throat. And so I understand the construction of the plot there, and it didn't bother me as much as it obviously bothered you. Other than I thought the whole episode in general was filled with lots of conversations that would never happen in real life because people don't talk that way. And that got a little hard to take after a while, where it's just like, oh, just go shoot something, go find a zombie and smash its head open. Okay. Right.
I guess the crux of it too is like, I understand, Thorn said what she said, and Rick got upset, and Rick went to Okafor, and he unleashed his emotions because why wouldn't you? I get what all of that is happening there, but I think it just hit me, the part about it that didn't make any sense, and maybe that's why I didn't like the scene. Why didn't Okafor just say, why are you asking? How do you know that I know about this? Who told you? And what does it matter? If I know about your people, you shouldn't go. You know what I mean? Like it feels like that didn't happen. I
think he did kind of say something like he told Rick that Thorn talks to him about Rick, and you kind of get the idea that this Okafor has a deal with Thorn going for something. Hey, I'll let you stay in the program and you can work your way up if you kind of be my eyes and ears.
Right.
Maybe, again, I don't know. I'm totally pulling that out of my buttock at this point. But remember at the very beginning of the episode, we see Rick and he takes one of the cushions from his couch and he zips it open, and inside it, he has all the letters. And he has all of these cell phones that he's collected and carved little pictures on and so on. And it's kind of like his little treasure trove of memories of the life he used to have. And Okafor, when Rick's, pounding him in the face over and over again, tells him that he's seen all that stuff. Right. And he's seen the phone. And then he went and he found the one message in a bottle that Rick tried to throw into the water, and he read the message. And so it's just sort of, that scene, when Okafor is telling him all this stuff, it's like he's kind of like ripping the Band-Aid off and basically saying, you can't leave, right? That it's bigger than just you leaving, and that if you leave, things are gonna go into motion that Okafor can't stop, and Okafor can protect him as long as he's around, But as soon as he makes a run for it, everybody he's trying to get back to is in jeopardy and danger. And that's something that Rick had never considered before. He figured they were all safe and hidden. And now he's finding out, holy crap, these people could go wipe out Alexandria. And he's seen the firepower. He's seen all the military stuff. He knows that if they decide to wipe out Alexandria, they're going to wipe out Alexandria, so.
Yeah. Especially considering, yeah. I don't know. It just didn't
bother you. I get it. Yeah. Again, there's a lot of talkie in this episode, so I could see where you're like, oh my god, another talkie scene, So I get it.
Yeah. So we talked about the attack on Omaha is shown. It's just interesting too to think that they actually have Thorne comes in as like, you have to see this, and it's like they have like breaking news or whatever.
They have like a news channel. Yes, I thought that was kind of funny too.
Yeah. So you have to assume though, because they're the CRM we know was behind that. You have to assume that it didn't happen yesterday. It probably happened like a day or two ago, and they have now edited the video to make sure that it looks, and they got the story straight on how it's going to look and what's the thing that happened and how did it, fall apart so quickly. So it just, I don't know. It's just it is interesting to see, like you were saying, them trying to sort of shove the whole big bad of the CRM to exist in the same worlds as, The Walking Dead and Dead City and whatever, and for people to not know about them because they're secret, like that's difficult. But I do appreciate that they connected. I mean, they would have had to, and we knew that this was going to happen, that they directly connected right to World Beyond.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's interesting because by doing that, I wonder how many people didn't watch World Beyond, because
a lot.
Look at the first season. The first season was not great. No. The second season was fantastic, but the first season was not great. So if you watched that episode, because I can't remember if the fall happens in that episode or the next one, but maybe you tried watching it and you're like, ugh, teenagers, and you shut it off and you never picked it back up again. The whole Omaha thing would be very like surprising. But as soon as she turned on the TV, I was like, oh, she's going to be talking about Omaha. That the whole thing is going to be, because we already sort of knew it was going to be there. But it's interesting to see them be able to sort of connect the two shows and connect the timelines so that you now know in that moment, we know it's 10 years. Because that's literally, so it places this show on the timeline, at least right then and there. That moment where he's sitting in the room, it sounds like once we get to the moment where he's with Michonne at the end of the episode, it's probably about a year or so later from there, because they start like working on that sort of satellite location or whatever.
Yeah, and he said, Okafor said it would be a year job. For them to prep it. And they said like a year from today, the brass will come down for a special strategy meeting or something, and it'll like be the opening. So yeah, you're right. So it's clearly at least 12 months have passed from when they got to the Catskills to the end. Yeah.
Yeah. But I like how even though like logistically the whole idea of the whole Philadelphia thing, yes, there's issues and red flags with that, but timeline wise and storyline wise, the fact that they can sort of cleanly connect to at least this one other show, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that they were able to do that and have it so largely affect. I mean, the events of Omaha really, really affect that first episode. It's a big like. Because there's, they immediately are like, did the CRM do this? And now all of a sudden it's just two and blah, blah, blah. And so it's interesting that something from the World Beyond is such a large sort of like cornerstone of this first episode. So I liked that they were able to connect it so tightly,
Yeah. Well, that's my question there. When Thorne comes running in and says, you got to watch this. When you saw that, did you think that they are like oh my God, I can't believe that Omaha was destroyed by the ghouls? Or do you think they were like, oh my God, do you think we did this to them?
I think Thorne suspects. Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think the fear of that actually happening, because it's a walled city as well,
Mm-hmm.
and they only have like a little under half of what Philadelphia has. So, but that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people that are gone, and so there's an amount of grief that's involved. But then, Thorne's smart,
Mm-hmm.
and even when you look at the way they described it, they're like, they showed 2 breaks in the wall that were the incursion points, and you're like, okay, but ghouls can't break down a brick wall. That's why
Mm-hmm.
they've been safe all this time. So if they mention that in the thing, how do they explain later, like, oh, they were fighting the ghouls and they blew up the walls by accident or something? Or maybe someone drove a car into it, or
Yeah,
some
again,
other
they don't.
accident
Yeah,
happened.
yeah. They, like I think they really, the report is very vague, and don't they say something like the CRM will be launching a full investigation
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
determine what actually happened? I'm like, of course you are. So you can tell them whatever you want.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
and
So,
and there's a line in there too where Rick is talking to Okafor, and he says something like, I see the helicopters go off with bombs and they come back and they're gone. They're not on there anymore. And he's like, and
yeah.
I don't care. I'm not asking any questions. But so I think Rick probably, it wouldn't surprise Rick if he were to find out that, oh, wait, the CRM wiped out Omaha. I think he kind of feels that, there's stuff going on here that, nobody knows. And Okafor even says that, right, when they have their meeting in the football stadium, where he's basically saying, hey, you know what, you're going to make the CRM a better thing than it is, because there's so many secrets on top of secrets here, and that's not good. So
Yeah.
my take is that I'm not sure about Thorne, but I definitely think Rick is probably not fully buying the cover
Yeah.
story at this point, and is like, well, let's see. But
Yeah.
he never,
Yeah.
he can't, he's not 100% certain. It's probably just a feeling.
Yeah. And it's interesting because here's this group that, like, they tried to get away with this thing, but it's like, Rick says to Okafor, he made a point to someone when he's like, can't leave. We're not allowed
Yeah.
to leave.
They're not free. Right.
Yeah. So if they're not free, and they have that kind of power, they could easily do that without question. And why wouldn't they? Wouldn't it have made them more strong? And doesn't that make more sense after they've had the explain the A and B thing? A's are killed. There you
Yeah.
go. They just
Right.
killed an entire colony of A's.
Exactly.
Why wouldn't you believe that? So interesting.
Mhm.
Sort of transition out of that. He conditions himself. Yes, he has his moment with, he tries to kill himself, but he decides, he gets better. He moves through his feelings and gets to a point where he basically explains that he conditions himself to just not think about family, because now
Right.
he knows what they're capable of. They could go, if I try to escape, they'll go after my people. And clearly they have no problem with, oh, this is a functioning community of thousands of people. Yeah, we're
Too
just going to
bad.
drop some bombs. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't care. We're not about creating a larger community like network. We just want our community to thrive, and sometimes for our community to thrive, we have to kill other people.
Yeah.
And so he's resigned himself with the fact that, and I like the way he describes it. And they knew they had to do this with this series, because everybody's like, well, Rick Grimes would do everything possible to get back to his family. And it's
Right.
true. He did. He tried a bunch of times. But he explains that once he realizes that if he tried, he would be harming his family and all these other people that he cares about. And then the way he's able to move forward is, he says, everything that I do helps keep them safer, helps
Right.
keep the world in a, you know what I mean? He just tries to look at it as this like larger sort of altruistic thing. If we're continuing to get, green and do other things, it can't help, the more, ghouls that we kill, those are less ones that might walk all the way to Alexandria. Who the hell knows? So he just has to sort of take it one day at a time and look at all of these instances of things that he's doing by him every day that he doesn't try to go back to Alexandria. The CRM will not go to them. So He just has to look at it as like, if I toe the line, they'll be safe. And that's the best thing I can do for them right now. So we get this final scene, and they start out the scene with, we've seen him doing all kinds of training, and now he's a helicopter pilot, which, why wouldn't he be? And it's great because he's on some flying mission with Okafor. They're doing, something. And Okafor says, I like, I'm glad, we're a good team. I like when you fly. I like how you fly. And he made some comment about, we're doing this, mission or whatever up the coast. Mm-hmm. So obviously, since we know Philadelphia, then clearly they're on the Atlantic coast. He doesn't say.
Know that really?
We don't know for sure.
It could be the Indian Ocean with this show, really. I mean, we don't know, right? The geography is not this universe's strong suit, okay?
No, that is absolutely true. So, because
let's be honest, if they were going up the Atlantic coast, they'd fly right over Padre, and then they'd have to explain all of that crap. So
the only reason why I think it leans toward, yes, the Atlantic coast is that's where Michonne was, and the people she was with that she sort of took in with, all we saw of them was that they had horses, it looked like.
Like a big wagon train.
Yeah, so it looks like they probably make good distance and good time, but not helicopter time. So, they're still taking like days and days to make it across like what would ordinarily just take a couple of hours in like a car or a plane or a helicopter, as it were. So since we last saw her, she was near the coast. It's safe to assume that she's still in that, I'm using air quotes, sort of like quasi general area is the Atlantic coast. So that's why I sort of am like, okay, this is where they are. Sure. Because prior to that,
the Atlantic coast is very small, so it's very easy to find people.
It is.
If you were to tell me, hey, I'm gonna go to the Atlantic coast, and then like give me a week, and then I would come and look for you, I'd be able to find you like that.
I bet you would.
It's right there. Come on.
It's funny because I was just thinking about this, that the very first time I watched that scene, when you first see it, you don't know how it's going to end. You don't know that the conflict at the end will happen and that we'll get the reveal of Michonne. So since he's been working on getting this other outpost set up for the CRM, and it shows that he's in some other location where we don't know where it is. When Okafor said the thing about going up the coast, I questioned it at first because I was like, well, we don't know where Rick is based out of now. So he could be on the Pacific. He could be on the Gulf. He could be, who knows?
In the hot zone.
He could be anywhere, really. But
he could be in France.
He could be in France. That's how Daryl's going to get home. They're just going to fly a helicopter across the Atlantic Ocean. Wait and see.
It's going to happen, man.
They have a refueling station somewhere in the center of the Atlantic. There's like a barge they can land on, or like an aircraft carrier.
They have a CRM aircraft carrier. Yeah.
Why wouldn't they?
Of course.
That's how they. They have to be able to trade with their French partners so that they can get the finest of cheeses and wines.
If Padre Island can have like fully functioning freighters and tankers showing up, it is certainly possible that they have an aircraft carrier. Okay?
Yeah, why wouldn't they? I mean,
all that
that's
stuff
fine.
is just lying around. It's not like anyone's using it. So
I accept it. So the attack happens and Okafor explodes in the most awesome way.
Mhm.
He gets hit with this like kind of small artillery
It's like a
shell.
rocket.
Yeah, it's like this,
it's a rocket. It comes right through the cockpit. It embeds itself in his chest, and you can see it, and it's kind of smoking. And he's already probably mortally wounded. He's blood's coming out of his mouth, and so on. But yeah, then he just and Rick is suddenly it's Rick Grimes again because he's all covered in blood.
Yeah.
and you hear him and he's like, Okafor's a KIA, because he's literally this like bloody mess in the seat next to him. It was
way
really
more
cool.
than they should have called it. He was more like an EIA. He was exploding in action.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, jeez, Louise. Yep. It's funny too because like it took me a second to be like, wait, what happened? And then I was like, oh, it hit him, but then it took a second and then it exploded.
And then it
really.
detonated.
So,
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
Well, and
so
in the scenes for next week, we see Michonne, and she has like a rifle that shoots those kind of projectiles.
Yes, like a modified, yeah,
because she uses it, and there's a big horde of ghouls, hundreds and hundreds of them, and she fires one of those things, and it kind of blows up a little portion of the horde, in the one side of it. So yeah, you see that clearly her or the people that she is with have that kind of weapons to use. Now, how she can hit a moving helicopter, I don't know. She's a really good shot, I guess, but yeah. So they keep getting shot, and the helicopter ends up crashing. And then Rick and a couple of the soldiers in the back jump out and are, trying to find cover, and, more rockets are coming in and knocking them all out. And then finally Rick gets knocked down and is stunned. And then you see somebody coming up and killing all the other soldiers behind him, slicing their throats, stabbing them. And then finally that person comes up to Rick, and right away you can see the katana. Yeah. And then for whatever reason, Michonne decides she's going to take the helmet off of this soldier, whereas everybody else, she just killed them with their helmets on, like,
wouldn't you?
Lucky Rick. And then there they are staring at each other eyeball to eyeball. And, not quite the reunion I think all the Walking Dead universe was hoping for or expecting, but that's what we get.
Yeah, exactly. I just put it all in caps because I was like, of course they find each other.
Of course they do.
Yeah. Of course that happens. It would have been much more believable if he'd been like knocked down. It would, there was like an explosion, like one of those shells went off, and they were all, what incapacitated them was they all got kind of thrown.
Yeah, the shock wave and yeah.
Yeah, it would have been way better if when that happened, his helmet came off.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just do that? And he's on his face, and she goes to kill him and instead turns him over and is like, holy shit. Mm-hmm. Why didn't they just do that?
You look just like my dead husband, Rick. End of the series.
Yeah. You're like, you're a ghost. I know you are. I'm going to run you through with my katana to see if you're real or not.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, so many fun comic things they could have done.
So many things.
Yeah.
So I have to ask this question. So I put it in with my notes, and it's more of like a more discussion point, as it were. And I gotta say, like, first of all, I'm surprised that they had the reunion happen in the first episode like that. I was very, very surprised by that. But I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on how do you think this is gonna end? Like, I'm not saying, like, what's the next moment that happens between Rick and Michonne. I mean, clearly, no matter what happens, if he's, what if there's, like, big explosion and there's an extraction and he gets pulled out and she just knows that he's a CRM soldier or whatever. Like, they know each other is alive and in the vicinity of each other. So whatever happens next, it doesn't matter. How do you think it ends? Like, do they end up together? Do they end up separate?
Yeah, of course they
do. They both die?
No. they end up together. They probably will, single-handedly take down the CRM and, topple that regime and then, install a better, nicer government, whether they're in charge or not. But yeah, they're clearly going to end up together. I don't see them going the, depressing everybody dies ending that I would prefer that all of these shows end with. But no, I don't think there's any doubt that it's going to be a happy ending. What do you think? What do you think they're going to do?
I just think that's too easy. First of all, yes, and I agree with you. Like it's a zombie show, it's a horror show. It can't always be a happy ending. So I don't know. Like I don't want it to be a happy ending because I think that that's such a cop out. And I also don't know, like, if that happens, like what you said, like, oh, they topple the CRM and they install a different, whatever. I'm like, how does that line up with everything else? Does it or does it at all? And if that happens, where do they go? Do they go back to Alexandria? Do they go to the Commonwealth?
Do they go pick up their kids? Think of the babysitter bill that they got.
Of course. And Rick, who doesn't even know he has a son.
Right.
So like, that's my biggest question mark about this series that I want answered in some way, or at least head in that direction, is by the time we get to the end of episode 6, I want to know, like, what is next for Rick and Michonne in this world?
Well, do you think that episode 6 is going to be the last episode?
I don't know. That's another thing too.
Yeah, I think clearly, look, if they renewed the other 2 shows, they'll renew this one at least for another season.
I mean, maybe that's why Denai said, I can do it, but you need to do only 6 episodes and we'll do them like every other year or something. You know what I mean? Because she got a lot going on,
Oh, and so does he.
Yeah.
But, again, money makes you do things.
It's true.
And
I guess it depends on the success of this one.
Yeah, but they're both executive producers, so they're getting 2 paychecks.
True.
Right, and that they probably are getting a percentage on the back end of the profit. So they're being paid a lot of money to do this show, and I'm sure the understanding is, hey, we're going to do the 6 episodes. We'll see what where we stand, and it's very possible we'll get picked up for season 2 through 9 and be ready for that. And I'm sure they are. They probably have contracts signed for so many seasons already. So. They've decided this is what they want to do. This is what they're going to do. And they're going to make out like bandits. So, as much as they have other things other projects, they've had 5 years to do other projects.
Yeah. You better get those other projects and put them in the can and, put them on the side.
Go make your Black Panther movies.
Sure.
They'll
make another one, maybe.
All
right. I think we hit everything. Is there anything in your notes that you don't think we talked about enough, or?
Just the only thing I wrote down one line. And it's in the helicopter scene at the end when Rick kind of tells the story about being a kid and the farm burns down and his old man kind of saves him and he finds out years later, long after his dad had died, that his mom tells him that the dad actually set the fire and it wasn't like lightning or natural causes. It was, the farm was going to fail and they were going to lose everything. And so he basically committed arson and burned it down. And then with all the insurance money, they built a new farm and the crops renewed like his dad said they would. And, Rick basically said that like the harvest the next year was the best it had ever been. And the farm reached new heights and it's clearly an allegory about his life there that, the old life has to be destroyed and then the new life that will replace it will be way better than the old life ever was. And he tells this line that his dad, when he sees everything burning, his dad tells him it may look like the end of the world, but it's only just the beginning. And again, it's Scott Gimple literally taking a shovel and smacking all the audience directly in the forehead with this is what I'm trying to say, people, so
This
but
is my
anyway,
metaphor for life.
yeah, there are many like it, but this one is mine. Yeah,
Yes.
but again, Andy Lincoln, it can make reading the phone book sound really dramatic and great, and he kills it in that whole little soliloquy. And it just kind of sums up it's sort of like the exclamation point on the whole episode for Rick's journey of, troublemaker, always wanting to escape, always trying to find a way out, to kind of playing the game and appearing to be on the team, but still longing to get away. And now at this moment, after all he's gone through, like you said, we see the scene where he throws everything in the fire. He burns all the phones and the letters and all that stuff. And that scene when he tells that story to Okafor, it's literally like him saying, the old Rick is gone. I had to destroy that old Rick, and the new Rick and the new world that I'm going to be in is going to be better for everybody. Because like you said, every day that he spends in the CRM is another day that everybody he knows back in Alexandria is safe. And so he has that, and he has the Okafor secret mission of trying to make the CRM a kinder and gentler thing as well. And so I like the line, and I thought it did kind of tie the episode together, even if it was kind of ham-handed and obvious and sort of just, hey, did you get it? Did you get my point? This is my point. I'm making it right now. So
yes.
But
and if you didn't get it, let me tell you, this is my point.
Right. And if you didn't watch the little thing at the end of the episode, and I will tell you again, so yeah. But anyway, again, I thought that Andy Lincoln was great and helped. He can make chicken salad out of chicken poop. So
yeah, he's great at that. That's for sure.
Yeah. But that's it.
All right. Well, I think we hit all of our points. So we are going to go ahead and take a quick break, folks. When we come back, we're going to discuss our listener feedback that came in and what's coming up on the podcast.
So everyone, please. Shh, don't tell anyone where we are, but stick around. We'll be right back.
Now there's about 20 of them out there.
What will we do?
Don't worry, we're safe in here. They'll never get in.
Why is it that in every zombie story, people always think that their safe haven is invulnerable?
I know. It's like, hello, the walkers are totally gonna get in. You better get ready for it.
No! Diane, get behind me. No, it's not stopping.
Do something, Jack!
And another thing, how come nobody in a zombie story has ever seen a zombie story?
Do you know how much time in human life would be saved if just one person in the group was up on the genre?
What do we do?
Aim for the head.
What?
Aim for the head.
You heard them. Aim for the head.
Quick, Diane, I think we should try and fix the barricades.
I think we should listen to them.
Now, that's the first good idea they've had all episode.
I still don't think they're gonna make it.
Aim for the Head, a weekly podcast covering the hit AMC programs The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead. Join hosts Diana and Steve as they recap and discuss the latest episodes. Aim for the Head, available on iTunes. You can also follow them on Facebook.
Hi, I'm Ross Marquand, and you're listening to the Aim for the Head podcast with Diana and Steve. And remember, always aim for the head, because body shots just don't work.
Hey, everybody, we are back. We're going to go ahead and jump right into our listener feedback, which we got a ton of. We're very excited about that. I'm going to go ahead and get us started here. And before we get into feedback for the current The Ones Who Live episode, we did have some sort of lingering feedback from back in the fall that I wanted to make sure made it onto the podcast, because we love all you guys writing in, and we know sometimes time constraints, something doesn't make it in, and for sure with our pal Andy in Germany, the shows either show later where he's located. So I just, he sent some thoughts in on a couple of things, and I wanted to share those because
awesome.
didn't quite make it before we had our last episode there.
Mm-hmm. And we didn't want to share it on the Dune review because it didn't really fit.
And also, I wasn't sure he would be listening to the Dune.
Yeah, exactly.
And, he follows the Walking Dead stuff, so I figured it made more sense to include it here.
Right.
All right, so that being said, he did include some thoughts on the Fear the Walking Dead finale. And those are as follows. Oh, terrible. He says, Bonjour, Diana and Steve.
Mila, Steve.
Mila, Steve. It's impressive how serious you discuss this series. Trust us, we feel the same. I stopped to really think about this stuff at some point. Only thing that annoyed me was the herd attack on Padre. At the end of episode 11, Daniel says that Troy will attack Padre with the herd. So if I know the plan of my enemy, I would try to thwart it, destroy the stuck herd, patrol the sea with those motorboats, evacuate the island so the attack comes to nothing. But they simply do nothing at all. Whatever. All 3 series of The Walking Dead are over now. An era has ended. Greetings from Germany, Andy. And then he includes a little PS there and says, PS, that explains my confusion about Mila Steve, which we were doing during Dial Dixon, obviously. The male article in French is le, like L-E, and la, L-A, is the female article. So it's La Diana, but Lee Steve. So
Lee Steve. Mealy Steve. Mealy Steve. And he's going to think, why are you saying Mealy Steve? And
Mealy Steve. Andy, thank you so much for trying to correct Steve and his terrible Midwest grammar.
It's hopeless. It's hopeless.
It doesn't matter what you say. He'll still say it wrong. So thanks for writing in your thoughts on the Fear the Walking Dead finale. We share your frustrations. We share your amazingness that we were actually able to, keep a level head as we discussed these terrible episodes. So it's nice to know that it was appreciated. So thanks again.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then about a week or so after sending that, Andy also emailed saying that he had finally played the Last of Us game and that he then listened to the podcast. So here are some thoughts that he sent in. And he says, Hi, Diana and Steve. I finally played The Last of Us and then watched the rest of the TV series. I like the second half more than the first half, but it doesn't offer what I want from a post-apocalypse series, depicting the alternative lifestyle in society after the collapse. Therefore, I'd prefer a 4th season of Snowpiercer, or C, over a 2nd season of The Last of Us. C, that's the series with Jason Momoa, CSEE.
Yeah, right, with all the blind people. And
Yeah.
Yep.
So it didn't impress him, apparently.
No.
So he continues and says, whatever. I listened to your Last of Us podcast after watching the show. Impressive how many details from the game you remember, Steve. Aw. I played the game a week ago and didn't remember half as much as you.
Wow. Well, okay, I should just say in my defense, before we started podcasting and right before the show actually premiered, I played the game again to kind of refresh myself because it had been it's not like I played the game, years and years ago when I bought it, when it first came out, and then I went through it again just before we started. And I think I even said that on the podcast, but yeah, so I did want to. So it's not like I just played the game in 2016 and now, in 2022 or 2023, when we covered it, I'm like remembering all these great details. It's like I did do it a little bit more recent than that. But anyway, thank you, Andy. I appreciate the compliment.
And I appreciate that you were very honest there. You could have been like, that's right, I have a fantastic memory.
Check it out here, everybody. Yeah, super big brain on me.
Look at the big brain on Brad.
That's right. That's right.
He continues on and says, I didn't like the ending of the show. First, it would be easy for modern medicine to extract some fungus from the brain without killing the girl. Second, how could they know that the cordyceps will continue to produce this special enzyme if it is not in Ellie anymore? The guy who bit Ellie's mother was not immune, though he was infected by the same cordyceps. Seemingly, the immunity factor is in Ellie, not in her cordyceps. So the moral dilemma would have been easy to solve for me. I would have killed the scientists. They are obviously bunglers. I disagree, by the way, that The Last of Us is more realistic than The Walking Dead. The Last of Us just uses science mumbo-jumbo to cover up the nonsense. Greetings from Germany, Andy. That's an interesting take on that. like that.
You know, I was at a restaurant a few weeks ago, and I ordered the science mumbo jumbo. It was very good.
Yeah. Yeah. I just didn't have enough time to react to that, so I have no follow up. Well, Andy, we appreciate multiple things here, which is we appreciate that you wrote in, that you finished the series, and that you listened to the podcast as well.
Yeah.
To sort of sort of round out your experience. So you did the game, the series, listened to the podcast. Fantastic. We totally appreciate that. And maybe The Last of Us wasn't your cup of tea. So I'm curious to find out next time you write in, let us know, give us a little PS after you tell us about The Last of Us. Although, to be fair, The Ones Who Live, not The Last of Us, sorry. I'm not sure that The Ones Who Live has been given a distribution internationally. So I'm not sure.
So he might not have access to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it might not have access, but if you do, and you write in next week and give us some thoughts on episode 1, let us know if you are at all interested in the second season of The Last of Us, because they are filming right now.
They are.
I take that back.
And have you played the game, The Last of Us Part 2? Because that's supposedly what it's going to be, at least partially based on. So
yeah. So
and there's some major, plot twists in Part 2 of the game that I'm real curious to see if they're going to draw all the way through to the show.
And I take that back. You did say that you would be more interested in a season 4 of C or a Snowpiercer. So my apologies for repeating myself, but considering those things aren't happening, but there will be a second season of The Last of Us. Mm-hmm. Even though the first season was not your cup of tea, will you be watching it? Not that you're excited or anything for it, but will you still watch it is my question. Right. So,
like a very famous man once said, it's not the apocalypse you want, it's the apocalypse you get. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. But either way, thanks for writing in.
Andy,
we love getting emails from you, and your perspective is fantastic. So thanks so much for writing in.
Absolutely, man. And definitely play the game, even if you don't like the show, because the game is a lot of fun. So you'll like Part 2. I think you will anyway. So It's just more of the same. And if you enjoyed the first one, you certainly will enjoy Part 2. So, all right. So moving along, we got a piece of feedback. And now this feedback from here on out is all about The Ones Who Live. So we're all going to be about the episode we just got done discussing. And our first piece of feedback comes from our P1 #1 fan listener, Mr. Alex Baelish. Hello, Alex. And he sent this via the email. And he says, Diana and Steve. And it's weird that Diana is not in all caps, but Steve is. So I'm not sure what to read into that, but that's what he put. He goes, first, now that the adults are back in charge, we can talk about some great stuff. And then he has an emoji, and I'm not sure what it is.
Probably. Also, it's just a hand waving too soon.
And also, the hand. I get you too soon. See, Alex, you and I were right there at the same wavelength. He goes, missed you talking about the show, and then he left a heart emoji, which is really nice. Thank you so much. He goes, I wanted to give you the rest of my feedback for Fear the Walking Dead now. And then he goes, just kidding.
Yeah. Nice try.
Nice try. Yeah, that nightmare is over. Okay.
You can't bungle with us. That's not happening. It's not happening.
No.
We know what you're doing there.
We don't roll that way.
No.
So he goes on, first thoughts are, why did they wait so long? And that was all in caps. He goes, I love that the first words were what everyone was thinking. Why didn't you escape? And he had me at I tried. He goes, I was a waterworks, which is kind of funny since his friend Esteban was in water treatment. Ba-dum-bum. He goes, I love the way they used fire colors throughout the episode, gave it a great backdrop. And yeah, you and I talked about that with the glowing ember ghoul. It was very cool.
Yes.
Cool. He goes, I need to rewatch World Beyond, something that you brought up, Miss Diana.
I suggested it.
Of how many, I wonder how many downloads and new watches World Beyond's going to get because of this show. Good question. So much great stuff in there about this show. If anything, the CRM could be the best villain in The Walking Dead. I love how Dead City taught us about the Walkers for Fuel program, and he has a smiley face emoji, and he goes, and now it's here as well. I really hope Elon Musk will make a cameo as the lead person, and he has a storyline. Really? Do you? Is that what you want? Okay.
Do you really want that?
I
Let's
don't know.
think about that.
Yeah. I saw Elon Musk on Saturday Night Live, and yeah, it was not good. It was not good.
Yeah.
He goes on, they are weaving the stories together so well. They're weaving the stories so well together. This reminds me of what Star Wars is doing. Now it's all coming together. Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see. And he goes, talk about cutting right to the chase in the first minutes. Damn, Rick, I love Thorne. I do too. I really loved her when she was on Lucifer as Mace. She was awesome. I hope she can stick around. My only criticism of Rick is that it took him so much time to realize just play the game. If he'd been the good soldier sooner, he might have had a way to get home quicker if he was higher ranking, just a thought. And he would also be able to applaud at a play. I'm just saying. Then he finishes with a heart emoji. Says, I can't tell you how much I love the callback to the plot with the girl, but this time she is alive. And I think he's referring to episode 1 of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Where
And
Rick
then the
finds the
callback
little
with
girl.
Yeah.
And if you noticed, they kind of had the same kind of pajama type
yeah.
robe thing. I mean, it was definitely very deliberate, I thought. Absolutely. He goes, so happy to hear you both and happy to talk The Walking Dead again. And then he finishes with the PS. Scott, Gimple looks like he lost a lot of weight. I guess now that he has shed fear, he can start living again.
It's like a monkey on his back. He didn't know he had.
Yes. He dumped about 200 pounds of dead weight, and that, of course, would be the knucklehead.
At least.
So, yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks so much for writing in, Alex. Very, very funny stuff. I love it.
Oh, thanks, Alex. Next up, we got an email, of course, from our pal Bev. Hey, Bev, how are you doing? Bev writes in from the UK. And she says, hi, guys. I hope you both had a nice bit of time off from podcasting.
Bev.
Hello, Bev. It's great to have you back again. I have missed listening to you. Aww, it's so sweet. I know. Now to the first episode of The Ones That Live. Boom. Yeah, that's how you do The Walking Dead. I've enjoyed the other spin-offs, but right from the beginning, this felt more fully formed. It's probably because they've been working on this for how many years?
I don't know, 9.5 years now.
Something like that. I'm glad that they didn't waste too long on the time Rick had spent at the CRM. After all, there's only 6 episodes. I think that Rick's narration helped to keep the story moving while still managing to explain what had been happening all this time. Do we think he needed to cut his arm off? Was the cable stronger than bone? It was still a mighty scene, whatever. There were times in this episode when Rick's desperation and deteriorating state of mind was moving. I would agree with that. And I began to worry that the end of this journey would be the end of Rick. And I'm worried about that too. It was a shock when his commander died and the helicopter crashed. I thought he had the potential to be a great character. However, this did lead to our heroes being united again. Looks like we'll be seeing Michonne's journey next week before her and Rick properly unite. And I have a feeling the plan to take down CRM will involve him going back and doing his bit from the inside. Although it's a smart idea. Although the other 2 spin-offs have been good, something about this series just feels like it's going to be a step above everything else. Can't wait to see the rest of this. She signs it as Bev, on a train to London to do business lady stuff. Ooh, fancy.
Fancy. Look at you.
It's not often you get an email from someone who's on a train to London. That's very nice.
Now, I'm curious, Bev, are we on a train or are you on the tube? Because, there's a tube.
There is a tube.
Yeah.
Pay no attention to him. But if she's taking a train from Devon into London, I'm sure it's an above ground thing. They don't have tubes all the way out to Devon.
Do they? I don't know. This is a burning question that all the listeners need to get more information on.
Boy, don't even glorify it with a response, Bev. It's just trying to do some sort of sexual double entendre with the word tube because he's 12 years old.
Look, there's really a London Underground. It's a place.
I know there is. I'm just giving you crap.
Oh my God!
It's a place and a thing.
Look, woman, get your mind out of the gutter, okay? This is the grown-ups now here.
It lives there. I can. It lives there. It lives there. Thanks for writing in, Bev. We're so glad that you are feeling very positive about the new series, and we look forward to getting your feedback every week. We look forward to it.
Absolutely, and you know what? I think the kind of upbeat reaction that Bev had is kind of a theme in the feedback that I think everybody is very excited for this. Yeah, and so everyone's like, it's gonna be great. And, fingers are all crossed. So yeah, absolutely. All right, so moving along, and again, Bev, thank you so much for writing in. It's awesome. Next piece of feedback. Oh my God, this is a blast from the past. We got some feedback from our old pal Diane from the Biters podcast. Remember the Biters? How about that? One of the Alaskan sisters, and she is now like a professional weightlifter. It's a crazy journey that Diane has been on. It's been awesome to kind of follow along on the social media, and you see all the stuff she's doing. It's just like, holy crap, you go, girl.
And I've actually been thinking about Diane and Marnell a lot lately because the most recent season of Night Country takes place in Alaska. So I've been thinking a lot as I see this stuff happening. I'm like, wow, like I know that they don't live in such a remote area like that. However, it just, it made
live a lot closer than we do.
Yeah, they made me think of them fondly every time I saw them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. All right, so anyway, Diane writes, and this came via the Facebook, and she starts it off with the hand. I was holding my hands over my mouth in shock. And she goes, lost the fiance at that point and never got him back.
Yeah, she made a comment that she was dragging him in to watch the series, but clearly that didn't help.
Once the hand got chopped off, he's like, yep,
I'm out of here.
So, well, you tried, Diane. You really tried.
You did. Good job.
Then she goes, and did you notice we went full circle with the little girl? Yes, we did. And then that was pointed out by Bev. Yeah, it was a good catch there, Diane. Yeah, that was definitely a little Easter egg there to all the Walking Dead people, without a doubt. She goes on to say, shout out to Summer, the teddy bear zombie. I also love the dream sequences with Michonne. Denai looked amazing. 4.7 dream pizzas, 5.
Out of 5,
I'm not sure what. Out of 5, 4.7 out of 5, yeah. So that was her review, is 4.7 dream pizza. So Diane liked it a lot. So.
Yeah, I appreciate too that Diane used the same sort of like random system that she and Marnell used to use when they would give their review.
Yeah, yes, it would always be like 7 like severed leg zombies out of 10 or something. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's awesome. Well, Diane, it's awesome to hear from you. Thanks so much for writing in.
Oh, it was so great. Next up we got some feedback via the Facebook from Amy Raymond, and I can't remember, I think this is a new person that I've never heard from before, but
well, Amy, if it is, welcome.
And if it's not, I'm sorry, and I'm old and I have a bad memory.
Yes.
So Amy wrote in and very succinctly via the Facebook says, I was very pleasantly surprised.
All right.
She apparently enjoyed it. That's what I'm going to infer from that. So
well, and again, it's just my when I would read that sentence, what I would take away from it is she watched Fear and was about to throw up in the back of her mouth a lot. And then she watched this show and was like, ooh, I don't have that I want to vomit sensation anymore. I'm very pleasantly surprised. So I think, again, coming from the low of the lows, which was Fear, anything's going to be better, but this show was definitely better. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, yes.
Everything about it was better. So, yeah. So awesome. So again, if this is your first time, welcome, Amy. And if you are a returning person, thank you so much for writing in again.
Absolutely.
We love it. We love it. And hopefully next week you can tell us what you thought of episode 2.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks again, Amy.
All right. So now moving on, we got some feedback from Alex Baelish.
Yeah, but this was via Facebook. So he likes to reach out via all forms of media.
Yes. Yeah. He's a social media fiend, that one. So he said here, and again, this is more stuff about this episode. So he kind of cuts out some of the shenanigans of that previous one. So he goes, let's give them a hand for finally giving us answers. He loves that joke.
God.
Was so surprised to see them have Rick and Michonne meet so quickly, but that means more great adventures with them together. And that was something that you pointed out, Diana, that, the fact that we did not linger and have that be the kind of the season, episode 6, the season finale moment.
Right.
right? Which
Nobody
is what
wants
you would
that.
normally expect. But no, now we've got them, and boom, they're together right at the end of episode 1. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do.
Indeed.
All right. Thanks a lot, Alex. It's awesome.
Yeah. Next up, we got some feedback from Judy Gardner. And again, I'm not sure if this is a new person or someone I can't remember. So Judy, my apologies. Again, I'm old. But Judy wrote in via the Facebook. Thanks so much. And she says, it was good to see the two of them. Spoiler alert. But there was so much explaining by so many people. Backstories galore. Too much. I feel like I should be taking notes. And what is with Okafor's accent? It's true. He did have an accent.
He did. He had a very interesting delivery method. Yeah.
Yeah. He said, and she continues and says, it was so distracting. I had trouble understanding him and then spent time wondering if English is his first language. And then I had to go back and listen to what he had to say all over again. You know, the laughing and crying emoji. She says, I suppose 5 episodes means lengthy explanations, but I think that's just bad writing. I will watch because I am devoted to all things The Walking Dead, but ... And that's the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, we obviously, you heard us, you know, we talked about the tons of exposition and that Gimple never met a line of dialogue that he didn't want to turn into 10. So that's too bad, but hopefully the actors and the situations and the, you know, all of that history and love and how we feel about those characters. And frankly, this whole, like, this is without a doubt like a whole new world to sort of see. We've had glimpses of the CRM and we've had like moments where we're sort of like little pockets of it, but it'd be really great to see like some more of the inner workings and how they all came to be, you know, learning what Okafor had done and how Philadelphia even came to be was interesting. I know. I'm just going to say random East Coast location, air quotes.
Exactly.
But yeah,
it's ancient Chinese secret. Okay.
Ancient Chinese secret. So yeah, we share your irritation with the tons of talking, Judy, but hopefully this was just an exposition episode and maybe next week we'll get a little bit better. So we'll see how it goes.
You know, I got to say my thoughts are no, next week is going to be just as talky because they have 5 years of her to vomit in an episode. But I mean, this is kind of a necessary evil. We just got to get through it. And that, like you said, first of all, their world building. This is stuff we've never really seen before. That's going to take a lot of time to explain. And then second of all, we haven't seen these characters for years of the show and like a decade of like real time. So not only do we have to figure out where they are, but we have to figure out where they have been. And the only way you can do that outside of lengthy flashback sequences is lots of words. And so, you know, unfortunately, that's the price of paying poker in this case, in that, you know what, episode 1, episode 2, going to be a lot of talky. But 3, 4, 5, 6, hopefully we'll get more into the flow of current events and the action. But we'll have to see.
Yeah. Well, thanks for writing in, Judy. And we agree. We are also devoted to all things Walking Dead. So we will, of course, be watching and give you guys feedback on it. So write in next week and let us know what you think of episode 2. If it was just as talky as episode 1, which, like I said, we hope it won't be, but, you know, it doesn't.
I think, you know, you should brace yourself, Judy, that it might be. So would not surprise me. Like you said, Scott M. Gimple, he loves to type. So
he loves to talky. Judy, thanks so much for writing in. We hope to hear from you again next week. We appreciate it.
All right, moving along. We next piece of feedback came from one of our main contributors. It's Miss Alma Contreras. Hello, Alma. Glad to have you back for this show. And she sent their comments in via the Facebook. And she says, I was completely distracted by Thorne's really bad accent. Didn't like her attempt at South African.
No.
I almost put on the subtitles because I was having such a hard time understanding her. Yeah, she was kind of all over the place. I really like her as an actor. And like I said, as Mace on Lucifer. If I don't know if you watched that show.
I
at
never
all,
watched
Diana.
it. No.
She was so great on that show. She was, Lucifer runs this club in Los Angeles, and she is like his right hand at the club, and is helping him, get souls and torture people and do all kinds of demon stuff because she's a demon. She just happens to look like a really, really attractive woman. But yeah, she had a lot of fun because she couldn't understand, trying to help people and all those kind of things that, like, the show is, he was working with the police to solve crimes, and she never understood that. She's like, why do we want to help them solve? You know what I mean? We're the bad guys. And so anyway,
Right.
she was really great on it. One of the for me, one of the high points of the show. But you're right. Her accent on here was when you combine her accent and Okafor's way of talking, there was definitely some subtitles going on.
I always watch with the subtitles anyway, so it didn't affect me as much. So I was just like, that's an interesting accent, but I understand everything you're saying because it's all written on the screen.
Right. Well, for me, I try and watch it the first time without, and then the second time when I'm taking my notes, then I put it on just so I don't miss anything. But Alma goes on to say, I almost put on the subtitles because I was having such a hard time understanding her. And then she goes, and heaven knows I hate subtitles.
Aw, Alma, embrace the subtitles. They're there for you.
They are, and unfortunately, the older you get, you're going to find you're going to have them on all the time. So
yeah,
I'm
sorry, man.
But yeah, that's awesome. But Alma, I hopefully Thorn will get a little more understandable as we go along, and we won't want to kill her for her accent, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much for writing in.
Thanks, Alma. Thanks so much for writing in. We appreciate it. Next up, we heard from our pal Karen, not related to Maggie, not related to
Maggie.
Lauren Cohen. Technically, the actress who plays Maggie, so I didn't really stumble there. And she wrote in via the Facebook and says, I think I'm right under the wire here, which is true. I was, I always set the time to cut off, and she sent in something that was like about 10 minutes before. And clearly she made it because here she is. She continues and says, I liked it. And the fact that we don't have to spend the whole series with them looking for / just missing each other. I do appreciate that. I guess they found a way to take his hand. Why didn't he chop the wire? Thank you. Why does he have so many iPhones? Is there nothing else to draw on? Wow, a lot of explanation, but I guess it's hard to show and not tell with so little time. True. Looking forward to more. Cheers. Thanks, Karen. You sort of reiterated a lot of what we thought too. And I agree. I did have the thought because we saw the one iPhone, but then when he showed like he's got like several, I'm like, what? And it's not how does he have so many? Because I'm sure like his job is to kill the ghouls as a consignee. I would assume that they also are supposed to rifle through them because I bet they're burnt. So they have to take everything out of their pockets. So there's got to be like old phones in people's pockets from the before times.
Right. Oh yeah. And they're useless, and I guess they're portable. But I thought too. Wow, that's a really weird canvas choice for your artwork. Yeah. That you're gonna just like literally scratch into the screen of an iPhone or a cellular, a slab phone or whatever. But yeah. I guess it's the thing I come back to is it's portable. He can keep 3 or 4 of them, and it's not like he's dragging it along. Canvas. 26 by 40 inch portraits of these people.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more portable, but I mean, so's like a little, notebook.
You could go get like a sketch pad, right? Is there no paper anymore? I mean, what the hell?
Yeah. So I'm right there with you. Why so many iPhones? And yes, is there nothing else to draw on? I don't know, but we'll find out. Maybe we'll see the scene where he discovers, oh, this is a really great drawing service.
I like writing on iPhones.
Oh, it's very, very pleasant. I enjoy.
Maybe he'll do like a Verizon commercial or something.
He'll be on like he'll be in the helicopter shouting down and be like, "Can you hear me now?" Anyway, thanks for writing in, Karen.
Yeah.
You always have thought-provoking feedback, and you always make us laugh. So I appreciate it.
You do. That's awesome. So amazing. All right. So we have one final piece of feedback, and that came in from our listener, Jamie Burns. And this was also via the Facebook. And this is kind of short and sweet and to the point. And I think it is awesome in how complete it is. And she says, or he said, I don't even know. Is Jamie?
I think the avatar was a male.
A guy. Okay. So
yes.
He said, just watched it and ... loved it. And there you go.
There you go. That's what Jamie thought. And I wasn't, the picture didn't look familiar, which doesn't mean anything, obviously, because people change their profile pictures on Facebook all the time.
Yep.
But I don't remember as well. Like, Jamie's name sounded new to me. So this might be another new piece of feedback, but maybe you've written in before, Jamie. And again, I'm old and don't remember the stuff. And this will, turn you off to us because I'm an old lady and you're like, I want to send in feedback to a podcast that remembers me. And
hey, man, you know what? I'm young and vibrant, Jamie, so I'm here for you. Okay.
Not really.
Old lady Driscoll, don't worry about her. She doesn't have her hearing aid on most of the time, so we can talk and it'll be fine.
What?
See, she doesn't even know what's going on. This is
thanks for writing in anyway, Jamie. To the craziness that is us. All right, so what's coming up next week on the podcast? Obviously, we will be covering episode 2 of The Ones Who Live, and the title of the episode is Gone. We haven't been given a description of the episode yet, but it's pretty obvious that it's just going to be this is where Michonne has been the whole time kind of episode.
Yep.
Much like how this was the Rick version of that exact same thing. A little interesting thing to know about the episode titles. Episode 1's title is Years. Number 2 is Gone. And episode 3 is Bye. Years Gone By. And
it's episode 4 by and episode 5 by, and then it's a song by NSYNC.
I mean, it could be.
That would be cool.
Yeah. I mean, not like cool, but it'd be kind of cool. It would be mostly. So no description, but yes, obviously Michonne, heavy, and I'm here for it. I miss Michonne. I love that character. So I'm very excited.
What I want to know is she going to have a dream sequence where she meets Rick at a park bench and he brings her a pizza? That's what I want to know.
That'd be such a Gimple thing to do.
Wouldn't it be? Yeah. I know. But looking at the scenes that they did show us, it really looks to me like we're going to get a lot of her and the group she kind of meets at the very end of her run on Walking Dead.
Yes, agreed.
That group, that kind of covered wagon train that she kind of you get the sense that she goes off and joins them and kind of helps them wherever they were going. So but we'll have to see.
Yeah, very exciting. There was also in the middle of the broadcast version, which I watched, the AMC broadcast version, there was a really nice teaser in the very middle for Daryl Dixon, Book of Carol, and no specifics on the date, but it says summer 2024.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, summer could be, May, June 1st. It could be August 1st.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, right. But it depends. Now, and they have not said anything yet about Dead City, right?
Correct.
So do you think Dead City will slot in before it, or do you think Dead City would slot in after it?
I don't know. I really don't.
Because my guess would be the season 2 of The Ones Who Live will slot in like October when Walking Dead used to premiere.
Yeah,
assuming that if they bring it back, that would be how I think they would approach it. So the question is where would they put Dead City, in that grouping? Would they want to have it before Daryl Dixon or have it after Ones Who Live? I don't know. We'll have to see.
I would also assume, since we haven't heard word 1 about Dead City, like no tease of when it might be happening, I think that like season 2 for that, I'm not saying that's where it will live, but I wonder if season 2 for this time around will be the fall. So they'll have Daryl Dixon in the summer, they'll have Dead City in the fall, and then maybe other things later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't
Again,
know.
I will have to see how it all shakes out. But that it's interesting that they've given us kind of a general time for Daryl, but nothing yet for Dead City. So
Yeah, interesting indeed. Nothing really else to chat about. I think we sort of covered everything, as it were.
The only thing I would say would be March 1st, Dune Part 2 is going to be for a major release. And it's long, people. It's like 2 hours and 52 minutes or something. So it's a long-ass movie.
Go to the bathroom before.
But I've heard people who have already seen it who say that it's a 3-hour movie that feels like it's 20 minutes. And so I'm excited. I want to see it. I know we've already got our tickets. We're all ready to go. And we're going to see
it
it
in IMAX. People,
in IMAX.
So
there's also some theaters that are showing it in 70 millimeter, which sounds amazing to actually see it on film. But in any case, it opens on March 1st. So please go see it. I think it's it's one of the few movies this year that I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing and seeing it in a theater and doing all that stuff. And then, of course, Days of the Dead is the end of March. We got about a month before that. So we'll talk more about it as it gets a little closer. And I'm super excited for that. So
same here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I did finish watching True Detective Night Country. And I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool overall. I enjoyed it. I know you enjoyed it as well. And so definitely we would both recommend, if you're looking for a cool quasi horror / crime drama, that would definitely be a place we would tell you to go.
I think one of the things too, like one of the enduring things that makes it so special is you just do not see shows that take place in Alaska and also that figure in indigenous populations. So they're just such a cornerstone of the story. The only other one I would say is if you watched Yellowstone, how the, indigenous Americans were used as, they were also part of that storyline as well, and it was done so well. I felt like it was. I certainly hope others felt the same. But yeah, that's one of my favorite parts about North Country was that it was an area that you never see and a voice that you don't get to hear. So I thought that was great. Yeah. Watch it, people.
And you got Billie Eilish. So what's not to like?
Oh God, that song has been on repeat in the car. It's so good.
That's awesome.
All right, so that's going to do it this week, folks. Thanks for tagging along. We look forward to chatting with you next week as well for episode 2. But until then, as always, I'm Diana.
And I'm Steve.
And don't forget to always aim for the head.
Because body shots, even in the ones who live, they just don't work.
To send us an email, write us at aimfortheheadpodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @AFTHpodcast. Pictures and video are always welcome at our Instagram account, Aim for the Head Podcast, all one word. But the best way to keep in touch with us is to just like our Facebook page to get all of our updates in your feed.
All right.
And I hope it's actually recording this time.
Shush. Does it say it on your end? It should.
It doesn't say anything on my end, but it says recording started by Diana. And by attending this meeting, I consent to being recorded.
Oh, geez.